Hello there, Aquarius. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly in-depth video tarot forecast. This forecast is for the month of July, and I am breaking it up into two different segments. So we're going to start off first with July the 1st through the 17th. I've already shuffled the cards and put them down on the table so that we can just jump right in. And so the first thing that I'm looking at, Aquarius, talks to me about your environment. And your environment is anywhere where you have energy or effort invested. So for most of you, it will be home, but you do want to keep your mind open about where else I might be talking about as well, because sometimes it does show up as other places. So what I have showing up about your environment, Aquarius, during this time frame is that this is a place that you are going back to or that you are returning to. So you have left this environment and now you are coming back to it at some point during this time frame. Next thing we have coming up talks to me about your subconscious leanings. And what this is telling me is that you are really focused on different options that you have available to yourself about making your quality of life or your life better during this time frame, and your subconscious is really working on, which one of these will be the best one for me to work on first. Next thing I'm looking at for you, Aquarius, talks to me about your learning style and also your communication style. I think that you are really focused on finding out about things that draw you in, things that you're fascinated by, things that you're curious about. And as far as your communication style, I think that you try to be very careful to hit the high things, talk about the positive things, and I think you kind of try to avoid talking about anything that might have a negative impact on whoever you are speaking with, at least during this time frame. Next thing I'm looking at, Aquarius, talks to me about work, and it looks like at work you're somebody who is being called upon to pass along good information to other people. You could be teaching a class, you could be running an orientation, you could be mentoring a new employee, you could be sent out to take a class and come back and teach what you learned to other people in your department or at your workplace, but you're passing along good information to other people in your sphere of influence as a part of your work. Next thing that shows up talks to me about that part of your personality, which is growing or expanding right now. And what I have coming up is that it seems like you're finding out some information about money or about material goods that you're not so thrilled to hear. And I think you may get more than one message that you're not so thrilled to hear during this time frame. And so where you're really growing and expanding is learning how to bounce back from that. How do you recover from that? How do you make things okay in spite of that? All right. The next thing that we have showing up does talk to me about something that you stand for. So this is something that somebody has either asked you to explain or possibly even confronted you about. And so what I'm seeing here is that there's something that took you by surprise, something that sort of came out of the blue. And I think that somebody wasn't so thrilled with your reaction to this surprise or this thing that came out of the blue. And so they're confronting you or asking you, hey, how come you didn't handle this better? And I think that once you have explained to them, that, well, let's see, if I get sideswiped, I might not react in the most logical manner. I think that this person is really feeling like they're feeling like they missed out because of the choice that you made. They're feeling like that became their loss, and they're having a real pity party over it, basically. I have to say, though, even as I'm feeling into this, I feel like this person is coming at this with some pretty selfish energy to start with, and they're not happy with how you handled things, but how they wanted you to handle things has to do with the idea of what's best for them, not what's best for you. And I really feel like even if whenever this situation sideswiped you, I feel like if you would have handled that in the best, most logical way for yourself, this person still would have been unhappy because you didn't handle it in the best way for him. And I do feel like for most of you it's a him. Okay. So next thing that we're going to look at does talk to me about the lesson or experience during this time frame. There is a little bit of disappointment here, and I think that this comes to the idea that you didn't handle this in the best way that you could have. I don't know if you're disappointed because the other person is having a pity party, or if you're disappointed because you personally feel like you should have handled it better in general. But there is some disappointment that's showing up here. So, you want to let yourself off the hook a little bit. Um, I read a long time ago in some kind of article, it was like a psychological article, and it talked about that when people are surprised, that's when we we can be more easily led to agree to things when we're surprised about something or shocked about something. So it looks to me like with whatever this was that surprised you or that sideswiped you, that just kind of hit you out of the blue, whatever solution you came to right after that, I think that you came to it probably because somebody else sort of led you to it. Whether they led you to it intentionally knowing it wasn't for your best or not, I don't know. On this, I think that that's going to be different from Aquarius to Aquarius. But I feel like you shouldn't really be that hard on yourself that you had to make a decision in the middle of being shocked or surprised that you didn't make the most perfect decision that you possibly could have. I think that's just kind of typical for human psychology and human behavior. So basically, I'm trying to say let yourself off the hook, make this card wrong, and don't have regrets. Just recognize that you were doing the best you could in that moment. All right. So at the same time that you're dealing with these regrets, which I'm hoping you'll change that energy so you don't have to deal with regrets, we do show you working and learning something new. So isn't that interesting? Your work is to pass along good information to other people, and I think that at work you're learning something new on top of it. So I don't feel like you're learning this just to pass this on. I do feel like you are passing along information to other people, but I think what you're learning is something that you are learning to make yourself better at the job that you have. Very cool. And then once we get up to the middle of the month, Aquarius, I feel like you're coming into a situation at that point where you're kind of beating up on yourself. I think we've got this carryover from this disappointment to now it's actually impacting your self-esteem, which seeing this escalate from being disappointed to impacting your self-esteem in a negative way just tells me that much more. I really want you to turn this energy around and let yourself off the hook so that it doesn't grow to that point. I really feel like you didn't do anything that anybody else wouldn't have done in your situation. So, there's no point in beating yourself up about it just because it wasn't handled perfectly because of how things went down and just where your headspace was whenever you were forced to make a decision. Okay, so quit beating up on yourself, Aquarius. I know it's easy for me to say, but quit beating up on yourself so that you can get some better energy in and so that you can maintain your self-esteem. All right, so that's the first part of the month. I'm going to take a little break, and when I come back, we'll hit the second part of the month. See you soon, Aquarius. Okay, Aquarius, we're back, and this time we're looking at July the 18th through the 31st. Once again, I've already shuffled the cards and got them on the table, so let's jump right in. What we're looking at first does have to do with your environment. So remember, environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. And it looks to me like there's a lot of stress going on in your environment. And this is something that is, I think that this is actually kind of extreme during this time frame, Aquarius. I want to look at your subconscious leanings. Actually, I want to go through all of this spread because I think that's going to give us a little bit of a clue about why there's so much stress going on in the environment. And we may be able to kind of, put a more full picture together. But obviously, if you want to get more specifics, like what's actually going on, what's best advice to handle this, then you would want to get a private reading where I could look at just your energy instead of all the Aquariuses who are watching this video. Anyway, looking at your subconscious leanings, Aquarius, it does look like you're realizing that there's a situation where you're feeling paralyzed, like you just don't know how to move forward. And I think your subconscious is working on this situation and trying to get you out of this paralyzed state. The key here is that the only reason you're restricted or feeling like you don't know how to move forward is because of something that's going on in your own mind. Something about your own perspective is keeping you from moving forward. You're really blocking yourself. Nobody else is blocking you here. So you want to try to look at whatever that is from a different vantage point. Maybe from, what would the mailman think about this if I told him or her, what the situation was, assuming that you don't know the mailman that well and they can be objective about your situation. Just kind of imagine how that conversation might go. And if you can't get anything imagining how it might go, find somebody who is objective and just kind of run the situation by them and just pay attention to what their reaction is so that you can sort of at least see somebody else's reaction to this situation and a more neutral person's reaction to the situation. That way you can get unstuck. Now the next thing that I'm looking at does talk to me about your learning style and also your communication style during this time frame. I do think that you are learning a lot from friends and mentors, people around you, people who are in your environment are actually where you're picking up a lot of new ideas and new information during this time frame. As far as communication style, I feel like you're definitely putting your best foot forward as far as communication style right now. Some of you may be putting resumes out there, or you may be applying for something else, and you just want to make sure that people see all the best about you and make a really good you want to make a really good impression through your communication with them. Some of you may be putting together some type of business plan to take to the bank. There's something going on where you're definitely trying to make sure as you're communicating, you're putting your best foot forward. Maybe you're meeting a potential partner's parents or family. That could be why that's going on as well. Lots of different ways that that could happen, actually. Let's look at work. So it looks like at work somebody has shown their true colors and you don't have as much respect for them as you used to since they have shown their true colors. And I do feel like this is somebody who is like a supervisor or a boss of some kind. That part of your personality which is growing or expanding right now. I'm really happy to see this actually. This talks about moving away from drama, moving away from chaos, moving into more peaceful, more harmonious situations. And I'm really happy to see that because, we saw that stress around the environment. So moving into a place where you're not as stressed out doesn't necessarily mean literally moving, although you could literally be moving. But I don't think for most of you this is a literal move. For a lot of you, this is just putting yourself into positions that are not as stressful, not as chaotic. There's less drama around. Just putting yourself in more calm, more peaceful, more harmonious situations in general. Next thing I'm looking at does talk to me about something that you stand for. It looks like you and another person have recently done something that you both enjoyed. Point blank. And so why somebody would want you to defend this or explain this, I'm not exactly sure, but somebody wants you to explain this, or maybe they're confronting you about having, doing some pleasant things with somebody else, and how they feel after you talk to them about this situation is they feel like, well, you don't want to be with them anymore. You don't want to do things with them anymore. That's what their takeaway is from this, okay? Now the next thing that I'm looking at, this is about the lesson or experience of this time frame. And it looks like you've got somebody showing up from your past, somebody that maybe used to be a friend or a coworker, somebody that is possibly an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend, but somebody showing up from the past. And this is somebody that You're not so happy about seeing, to be real honest, Aquarius. I don't think you're jumping up and down for joy here. You may be trying to hide around the corner so that they can't find you. But I do see, in all seriousness, I feel like whenever this person shows up, you're really focusing on work. You may be using work as an excuse to walk away from this interaction with this person. You just may say, you know what, I'm really busy, I have to go, and just take off. That could definitely be happening. And I feel like this person may be somebody that you were married to in the past, or it may be somebody um, that you thought you were going to marry in the past. Maybe they offered marriage and then they never came through with it. Or this could be somebody that, you know, you were married to and now you're divorced from, that is showing up. I think you're pretty happy just doing your own thing. I don't think that you're not wanting that kind of partnership, at least not with this person right now. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I don't think that's going to go well for them. All right. And then once we get out to the end of this time frame, we see you, all that work that you've been focusing on, we see that paying off. We see payday coming in. So we see that paying off for you. So that's a nice way to end that time frame. It's like you're just really not focusing on this person that's coming back. You're focusing on the here and now and what you're manifesting in the moment. And I don't think you're letting this person distract you for very long at all. Long enough for you to say, you know what, I think you need to go. That's pretty much it. All right. Thank you for being here.